Hey guys, coming up for Runaways, Season 1, Episode 3, Destiny, and I was definitely really looking forward to this episode. I've really been enjoying this show for the most part, and this episode I was very interested in because, as we know, the first episode focused primarily on the Runaways. It was, all the teens getting to know them, seeing them kind of discover their powers or advance their powers, in the case of someone like, say, Nico, her, enhancing her powers. But then the second episode, of course, we got the view of the parents' perspective and, why they're in the Pride, what they're really trying to do. So now that we know all of that, now we can actually combine the two together, and easily this was the strongest of the three episodes, mainly because we now know a lot of things. We know what the parents are thinking, we know what the kids are thinking, and I thought this was definitely a very strong episode. I thought we got a lot of great insight going on here, and from here on out, I'm very interested in seeing where the show really does go, but let's just get into it because I definitely do want to talk about it. So we start off and we see there are members of the Pride, and we start actually at a funeral, and basically they're members of the Pride and other random people who are carrying two coffins. The kids look much younger, we see here, and we also see that Amy is with them. So this is when Amy was alive, and Molly has a broken leg. She sits in a wheelchair, and Stacey Yorks kisses young Molly, and we realize that we're actually witnessing Molly's parents' funeral, because of course Molly, that's not really, Gert's, sister. That is in fact her adopted sister, and I like that we went back here. We see at the wake, Janet and Catherine share a glass of Glenlivet 12, and they toast the memories of Jean and Alice Hernandez, who perished in a fire, and basically across the room, Jeffrey corners Robert and comments on Tina's burns, but also accusing them of starting the fire. So we already are seeing that, the cracks in the Pride have been there from the beginning. This is not like a new thing. There's always been cracks in the foundation, and I really did like seeing that here. So Stacy and Dale then meet in the kitchen, where Dale is worried that other members will find out they spoke with the Hernandez parents on the night of their deaths and would get suspicious. So I don't know if this is saying that they were instrumental in Molly's parents' murder, but knowing the sacrifices they've committed, I honestly wouldn't be surprised. I really wouldn't. So I don't know if that's what they're hinting at, but that was definitely very interesting. So they speak with young Molly, who doesn't quite realize the full magnitude of what happened to her parents, obviously because of her age, but also because of just so many things she's in the dark about. And the Yorks want to give her a good life and ask if she wants to live with them. And Molly actually is wearing the same cat hair clip that she lost in the Wilder's office, and I thought that was definitely a very strong start. It gave us a lot of context to both the groups, and like I said, I thought that was just a very strong way to start things out here. So we then cut to the present day, where Molly is freaking out about her missing clip, and her strength kicks in as she's searching her drawers, and I like the way this is done. We see the more she uses her powers, the stronger she really is becoming. She tosses one across the room. Gert then enters the room and tells her to look for it later, but Molly reiterates its importance by revealing her mother actually gave it to her before she died. So needless to say, this is one of the most important sort of family heirlooms to Molly. It is really one of the only ways to keep a piece of her mother alive, and I thought this was a very strong scene. And like I said, Allegra Acosta, who's playing Molly, is very strong. I'm really loving her acting in the show, but she attempts to confide in Gert about her weird abilities, but Gert hijacks the conversation and assumes that she's just having panic attacks. And this makes sense because Gert does not realize her powers yet. We really haven't had that scene yet, so it makes sense why Gert thinks that, nothing's really going on with Molly. So Carolina meditates to her mother's self-help audiobook, and Leslie then pops into the room. She tries to have a conversation, but Carolina is distracted by a social media post from her classmates, and it turns out the boys that Chase beat up for attempting to rape Carolina are planning to get their revenge and are turning their class against him. So I really do like this. It actually does give more stuff for Chase to do. Chase has been a very one-note character. He's been the only character I've not really been a huge fan of, but I did like what we got here. I like that they're now kind of gaining up on him, and it's showing a little bit more vulnerability here, so I definitely did like seeing that. But Caroline gets another message, and this time it's from Destiny, who, as we know, they thought, definitely, there was no question about that she was absolutely dead, but we see that's probably not the case because she's getting a text from her. So at the beach meeting that Alex organized, Caroline reveals a message to the rest of the group. It includes a selfie of Destiny in front of Big Ben saying that a spot opened on the Church of Gibborim's trip to London and she got to go. And the kids are very confused considering that they thought they watched their parents murder her. So how could she possibly be alive? And once again, I gotta say, all of these actors have such great chemistry. I thought they honestly worked really well together. But Nico immediately claims that the picture is doctored and that there's no way that she's actually there. Someone clearly photoshopped her in. And Chase confuses LARPing with furries, and Alex recommends they investigate their parents. Caroline is going to check out the church. Chase and Gert are going to look for the pod in Victor's lab, and Alex is going to scope out the secret basement, and Nico wants to find out what is up with her mom's stuff. So basically the rest of the episode, they're all kind of split up into their own teams, but they're all, looking for one common goal, which is, what the fuck's actually going on here. So Molly mentioned the monster in her basement. Despite all the other weird shit going on, no one really seems to believe her, so she gets upset and goes off on her own. And we know there very much is a dinosaur there. We've seen it before, we've heard about it, and Carolina tells Jace about the post his lacrosse team wrote and asks if something happened the night at the party, but Chase tells her that there's nothing to worry about. And remember, Carolina really has no memory of what actually happened, which I thought was definitely very interesting. We know she had those powers and she seemed like she didn't know what was going on, so it seems like I've said, this is a minor setback. It's something that she does not remember, and I thought that was very interesting. So in Victor's lab, Destiny is covered in grime and pleading for mercy, asking for freedom in exchange for her silence, but when Stein tells her to look at her, she's gone, and he doesn't notice his wife Janet enter the lab, asking if he's been working through the night. Victor looks a bit mad and slightly exhausted, so when Janet hints that maybe the pod wasn't the problem at the Pride meeting, but Victor was, he obviously gets very angry, but they're late for a charity auction, so he cuts the argument short, and James Marsters is doing such a good job with not making this role too over the top and too cheesy. You can tell that Victor, yes, he's someone who definitely has this very dark exterior to him, but you can tell how passionate he is about the Pride and how much this matters to him and how he really is trying to do all that stuff. And again, I really do attribute that to how great Marsters is in this role so far. So we jump to the York's lab at Synergy Bioengineering when Stacy comments on how she's relieved she never has to see Tina Monroe after last night's meeting. She pictures her face when they enter a surprise party thrown by none other than the Minoris, and they truly are despicable. So the Yorks are confused about the reason for the party, but Robert reveals that their Synergy serum has made it to the cover of the American Journal of Experimental Medicine. So needless to say, it's a big thing. The Minoris invest in the company, and after the company sells, they're expecting a very hefty paycheck. So they comment on what the serum actually does, with Dale wanting to sell it to DARPA in order to help soldiers forget traumatic moments and aid PTSD treatment. So we do see that all the stuff they're doing, it is for good cause, and it is definitely for good reason, despite the fact that what they're doing is still very messed up, and it's not necessarily the right thing to do, but you see that they're donating all these charities, and that's still what they're trying to do. So Tina starts lighting up, reminding Robert of their dates to this really crappy sushi restaurant nearby. She wants to go on a date with her husband, but Robert is very evasive. He is not interested, and Tina wants to try to repair their relationship, but Robert deflects and wants to invite Nico along, saying she needs her parents right now. And I really like this. You're seeing how this one death has kind of ruined their marriage a little bit. These two are clearly, they're very distant from each other, and that, the main thing to focus on is Nico. So I like seeing this. I like seeing that, yes, they are in the Pride, but they're still trying to be really good parents, and that's something I do like seeing from these characters. It just gives them this really good sense of humanity, and I like that the show is doing that. So in the Stein lab, Gert and Chase get their sleuthing on. Gert finds the x-ray goggles that Victor invented, which became a part of Chase's repertoire in the comics, which I did not know about, but apparently that's a big part of it. So they use them to look at Chase's, basically they use them to look at Chase, his essentially his dick, basically. But basically, Kurt discovers a secret door behind some rollaway storage containers leading to the pod. She examines the pod with the goggles, and Destiny isn't inside, but Gert's still very uneasy, and based on Molly's comments, she wants to investigate her own basement to see if the Yorks are keeping Destiny there, because she very well thinks that, yeah, maybe Destiny is very much there, and maybe Molly does have a point. So Catherine and Jeffrey discuss Molly's hairpin. Catherine is determined to find out if she was there, and she just has the tool to help her figure it out, which is a vial of the Synergy Serum. And Jeffrey objects, saying that, she saw what it did to Frank Dean, that he's never been the same since, and she doesn't want to mess with a young girl's mind. So now we know why Frank is so clueless, and why he is acting the way he does. So I don't know if they've erased his memory or what's been going on with him, but it's clear the Frank Dean we see now is not the Frank Dean that he used to be. So Catherine's determined, won't let a child ruin all their hard work. And again, I like seeing the difference between Catherine and Jeffrey. Catherine is very dedicated to the Pride, and she's willing to actually commit some very bad a lot of bad sort of sins and all this kind of stuff, while Jeffrey, he's very adamant about not going there. He's very conflicted. Yes, he is still loyal to the Pride, but he definitely does have some limitations, while Catherine doesn't, and I do like the juxtaposition that we're seeing between these two so far. So the Monroes then getting ready for their date. Nico encouraged them to go alone, opting to stay behind and secretly investigate the staff of one, only she can't figure out how to open the special case because her mom has actually locked it inside of it. So unfortunately, they're making progress, but it's very gradual progression, and I like that. I like that they're not completely ahead of their parents yet. There's still a lot of things they don't know about, and it's very intriguing. So Catherine tracks down Molly at a nearby coffee shop, pretending it was a coincidence, and obviously, we know very well why she's there. So she shows Molly the hair clip, asks her why it was in the study and not the rec room where the kids were. And Molly says because of her going through puberty, she was trying to find a bathroom. And when Catherine attempts to confide in her, Molly then darts for the bathroom and cuts the conversation short, mainly because she's just not, she knows exactly what she's talking about. She's very suspicious right now, and Catherine, suspicious, tries to follow Molly, so the youngster uses her super strength to rip out the toilet, toss her through the window for an escape. She gets to the back of the coffee shop, but her resulting exhaustion then kicks in, and she passes out next to the dumpster. So again, I like that these powers do have some very significant sort of setbacks, and there definitely are some downsides to it. She passes out a lot. It clearly takes a lot out of her, and I definitely like seeing that here. So Alex attempts to investigate his dad's study and opens a secret passageway, and when he calls his dad to make sure he's not home, he's shocked to learn that Jeffrey is actually in the kitchen. He's panicking and frantic because he knows very well that at any moment he could be discovered. So he tries to shut the secret doorway, hanging up on his dad and arousing suspicion. And once again, Rhenzy Falk's just doing such a great job in the show. This scene in general, I really did love. But we then see Catherine. She finds Molly in the alleyway. She loads her in her SUV and takes her to a remote area. And Molly then wakes up, and Catherine's ready to inject her with the serum. Catherine asks if she's hiding anything, and Molly decides to confess. And she actually tells the truth, that she went into the study because the other kids asked her to spy on the parents so they could raid the liquor cabinets, and the admission then takes Catherine off guard. She drops the serum to her side and instead tries to console Molly, who plays the lie with a little bit of truth, and no one really seems to believe Molly's outrageous claim, saying that she's just the adopted girl who everyone got stuck with, and that's really it. So Catherine feels bad for Molly and tells her that she'll tell her more about her parents now that she's old enough to know, but Molly's relieved that Catherine actually believed her, and I like this. I was very worried that this was going to happen early on, that Molly was going to be injected, but you can see that Molly, she's smart enough that she can trick Catherine into thinking that that's all that's going on, and it makes sense why we got that first scene, because it really brings the episode full circle. Catherine wasn't able to tell Molly now she is actually to tell her what's going on, and I really enjoyed seeing that. So while investigating her mom's room, Nico discovers that that she took her dead sister Amy's diary and hid it in her desk drawer, so she happens to activate the secret switch in the drawer that releases the staff of one from its case, and with the staff in hand, she accidentally pricks her hand, causing it to extend and light up, and basically, we see that she only has to prick her thumb here. So she retrieves her sister's diary. She finds a paper cut out of a snowflake, and it makes her smile, bring her to tears, causes snow to fall in her mom's office. And at first she's surprised, happy to see something so amazing, but then she realizes what she's done. And again, I love this. I love that. Sure, this is definitely a, shock for Nico, and she's very happy with this, but at the same time, how does she stop this? How's she going to clean up? How's she going to hide from her parents? I mean, this is definitely a very dangerous situation here. So at the sushi place, the Monroe's date seems to be going well. Tina takes off her underwear, puts them in Robert's hand on the table, telling him she booked a hotel room nearby and wants to have a tryst, and Robert looks disgusted. Tina replies that it worked for Dakota Johnson, obviously alluding to 50 Shades of Grey, and I don't know if Robert's just not into the 50 Shades of Grey series, but he is definitely not at all into this. He rebucks his wife, saying that they aren't characters in a trashy movie. Tina, we realize, has been cold for years, and all of a sudden she's moving super fast and attempting to fix their relationship, and he's just not having it. They haven't had a very healthy relationship. He puts Tina's underwear on the table, which is very, we see that, he puts her underwear on the table, and Tina remarks that Robert used to love going to hotels and that she simply wants to have fun and spice up their marriage, and the server comes by to check on them and gets weirded out when she notices the underwear, and she walks away without saying anything else. Robert's then pissed. He leaves the restaurant, not wanting to deal with Tina's confusing signals, and again, I like this. It shows that these two are definitely not perfect. They got a lot of problems they're going through, and I'm interested in seeing really where this is going to go. So at the Church of Gabor, Caroline is trying to find out what happened to Destiny when she runs into her mother's assistant. He tells her they saw Destiny get into a car with the group heading to London, but Carolina can't get a hold of her now because Destiny's phone was actually disconnected. So she asks the assistant if he ever takes off his Gaboran bracelet, and when he says yes, she asks if he saw the lights too. He, of course, has no idea what she's talking about, so she wonders if she's going crazy until she sees a painting that her grandfather made that depicts an angel with the same vibrant colors that she saw when she removed her bracelet. So I don't know if this is alluding to the fact that she might be an angel or what that's really all about, but it's obvious she does have power. She's just not really as aware of them as, say, Nico is. So Alex goes to help Nico get rid of the snow in her mom's office. She tells him that she believes the Staff of One is magic, but Alex tries to find a logical explanation, and when he touches the staff, it burns in his grip and he drops it, which thankfully does stop the snowfall. So the Yorks celebrate their scientific achievement with some Mexican food. They also order 30 carnitas tacos for the dinosaur in the basement, and they debate informing their daughters that they're planning to move to a remote location after the sale in order to get away from Pride. So we see that they're not interested in Pride anymore. They want to get as far away from it as possible, and I really enjoyed seeing that. But Robert then meets up with Janet in the hotel room, revealing the two are actually having an affair, we find out. Yeah, so now we know what's actually going on here, why Robert's not interested. And you get the sense that Tina's been so distant that Janet's been someone that he has relied on, and they're now having an affair, and I did like the way that was done here. So Nico and Alex clean up all the snow miraculously, but her mom has arrived home after her failed date. In order to cover their tracks, they go to her bedroom, pretend to be in the middle of their own tryst, and Tina then walks in on the teens as Nico sits on top of Alex, and her mother's obviously not too pleased about that. So Tina kicks Alex out of the house, but Alex doesn't leave without getting a kiss from Nico. So back at the hotel, Robert tells Jan he wants to leave his wife and live his life with her, and Jan then comes up with excuses like pride, but Robert says the pride won't matter once they break ground, possibly referring to the school they're going to open. So, they want to open this school now, and Janet, though, needs time to think about his offer between the affair, the underwear on the table, and Gert looking at, I thought this was definitely interesting to see the way that was handled there. So in the York's basement, Gert and Chase discover a heavily fortified door, and when they open it, a dinosaur runs out, knocks them over, and it's Old Lace in all of her glory. She roars at the two teens, but when Gert panics, tells herself she's under control of her anxiety attack, the dinosaur comes down, and now we know why she told Molly that, because she actually does have very bad anxiety attacks. So Old Lace then runs out of the house, leaving Chase and Gert to wonder what the hell's actually going on. I mean, where did this dinosaur come from? What's that really all about? But back at the church, Leslie then meets with a crusty-skinned person on life support. She asks if they felt anything at all, and in a Darth Vader-esque voice, they respond that they felt nothing. So Leslie then gets a call from Tina, who tells her to turn on the local news, and when she turns on the TV, the news report says a body of a local girl washed up on the shore of the beach, and she has been identified as Destiny, and Tina remarks that Victor, Janet, and her husband aren't picking up their phones, hinting that she is very well aware of the affair, but Leslie is saddened by what it all means, and she talks about that since Destiny got away, that they're going to need another sacrifice, and that is the way this episode ends. So overall, guys, a lot of great stuff going on here that I definitely do want to talk about. First of all, let's just talk about the Pride in general, because one of the things I really do love about this particular, about the show so far is the way they really are exploring the machinations of the Pride and exactly what they're going through, the various things that they've done, but also that there have very well been a lot of cracks within the Foundation for a while now. This isn't a new thing. There clearly has been a lot of problems ever since the Pride initially started. So much so that some even want to get out of it. Say Gregg's parents, for example. They really want to get out of the Pride, and you can see that they're very adamant on doing so. But some, like Janet and Catherine, are very loyal, and they want to stay loyal, and they want the Pride to sustain, and we definitely do see that here. And I did think we got a lot of interesting revelations in this episode. First of all, the whole thing going on between Tina and Robert I think is very interesting. The fact that all this time Tina's been very distant, and now all of a sudden she's trying to mend their relationship. And the reason I think is because she's well aware of this affair. She knows very well what's going on between her and Robert, why these two are so distant. She knows really what's happening there, and I'm looking forward to seeing really where that's gonna go. And you can tell why she's going to such extreme measures, because she's willing to do whatever she can to get her husband back, and I do think all that is definitely very interesting. Victor, like I said, continues to be a very interesting character. You can see that he is very loyal and that he wants to do what he can to, make sure the Pride does stay. But I also love that they're doing this for a good cause. They're doing it for charities. They're doing it for all these different reasons. But still, they are still sacrificing people. And I do think that is definitely very interesting overall. Leslie and Frank. What happened to Frank exactly? We now know that Frank went to something very similar to what they were going to do to Molly. So we don't know what that's really about. The only thing I could think of is that maybe Frank was someone who wasn't okay with it, and then they injected him and now he is okay, but it seems like he's lost a lot of his memories. There's a lot of stuff going on with Leslie that he doesn't know about, so I'm still interested in seeing really what that's all about. We don't know what's really been going on there. I also like the way this episode got more into Molly as a character, the fact that she doesn't know a lot about her birth parents, but she holds on to, that one specific hairpin because it's something that was given her by birth, and it's something that is very important to her, and, it's like one of the only things that keeps her mother's memory alive, and I thought that was a particularly very strong scene. And like I said, Allegra Acosta is definitely one of the best actresses in this entire cast. I'm really loving what we're getting from her. I also love we're getting with Carolina, because Carolina, sure, she does have these powers, but she doesn't really believe it. She thinks she's crazy. She thinks that there's no way this is actually happening to her. She's blurring out things, and I really am loving what they're doing with her as a character. Virginia Gardner is doing a really great job here, and I definitely really liking her stuff as well. Nico and Alex, I like what's going on with them. There's definitely a lot going on with, Nico's deceased sister that we still don't know about. And again, I don't know if they're alluding to the fact that the Pride had something to do with Molly's parents' death, but it very well seems that way, because the way they were talking, it seemed like this was something they planned for a while now. Like maybe they adopted Molly not for not for reasons that because they cared about her, but maybe they did have ulterior motives. So I'm looking forward to seeing really what that's all about as well. The only thing, like I said, that I am really not enjoying is I do very much think they're rushing things between Gert and Chase. I get it that they want these two to be together. I get it that Chase is supposed to be the love interest for Gert. I totally get that, but right now I'm just not really into this story. The scene where she was looking directly at his dick I thought was kind of cringy, honestly. I do like what the dinosaur about. We still don't know what the hell is that dinosaur about. But if there's one thing I can say moving forward is that this definitely does leave me very intrigued. I am very interested in seeing where this series is really going to go from here. 3 episodes in, I am definitely really enjoying it. And I am going to give Runaways Season 1, Episode 3, Destiny, a B+. So over, guys, from this episode of Runaways. Most guys thought this episode overall. Loved your thoughts on it. What do you think of the show so far? From here on out, guys, I definitely will be reviewing each episode individually once a week. Definitely look forward to that when those reviews do go up. But that's my review. Hope you guys enjoy. I'll see you guys in my next video, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.